I'll just let you take the wheel. You start the conversation here. How you want to start it? What's the matchup that matters here for this one?
Yeah, I'm going into the Texans O-line against the Titans D-line because I do still think that that's somewhat of a strength for the Tennessee Titans defensively. Jeffrey Simmons leads the way, 29 pressures. But
Right.
the biggest thing with the Texans O-line is that they've got a 65.4 PFF grade overall, which is 27th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the 27th ranked run blocking grade. They're 15th pass blocking. And this is the reason it matters most, too, is that CJ Stroud this year, his passing grade goes down to 61 when he's under pressure, which is not the worst at all. It ranks seventh among qualified quarterbacks, in fact, with a minimum of 100 dropbacks. But he's been sacked the second most of any quarterback in the league this year. And he hasn't had a passer rating of over 100 since October 13th, which was week 6. So you do see kind of this. And again, Nico Collins was out from a lot of that, and now he's back in the lineup, and you're seeing what that does for CJ Stroud, and you're hoping that they can kind of get back to being what we got used to at the tail end of last year. But I feel like the Texans and the Texans offense in particular just kind of shot itself in the foot last year by doing as well as it did and making the playoffs and all that other stuff, because now this is the standard that they're held to. When in reality, CJ Stroud is still a second-year quarterback. There's still going to be some bumps in the road.
Right.
And we're not giving them a lot of grace because we're like, well, we saw it last year.
We never
Why
do.
can't you just do it again?
We never do.
We never do, right? So I really do think, though, that the offensive line is key here to helping Stroud be the best that he can be, along with Nico Collins being able to get the ball to him and get back to kind of that efficiency that we got used to seeing out of CJ Stroud last year. Because again, like I said, no passer rating over 100 since week 6. That's 6 weeks ago.
I would not have thought that would have been the case. My matchup that matters, I'll go on the other side of things. I'm going to talk about Calvin Ridley versus Derek Stingley Jr.
Yeah,
Stingley Jr.'s stats, as a whole this year, not super impressive. I mean, it's still a coverage grade in the 70s, but last week it was a coverage grade above 80. I thought he handled CeeDee Lamb very, very well. He is somebody who, he got himself an interception. He's got fantastic ball skills. If you miss a little bit with Derek Stingley there close, he can take the ball away from you or at least get his hands on it. That's what he's been fantastic at throughout his NFL career, especially when he was, and I should say on top of what he was when he was at LSU. So when you look at that and when you look at the type of coverage player that he is, if he could shut down Calvin Ridley, there's not a lot else that they go to. All due respect to Nick Westbrook-Ikine, who had a big play last week. You look at Calvin Ridley and the rest of this receiver room. I mean, Tony Pollard's got a threat percentage this year of over 20%. He is the next most targeted player per route that he has run after Calvin Ridley. It's your running back. Tony Pollard's a great receiver out of the backfield. You should get him the football, but he shouldn't be number 2 in terms of threat percentage on your team. The guy who's number 3 is DeAndre Hopkins. He's not even there anymore. So all of a sudden this becomes, damn, I like the way that Will Levis has played over the last couple of weeks. He's been, I think, a little bit more controlled, more confident. He's still got some big-time throws, but he's really limiting the turnover-worthy plays. He's not listening to that devil on his shoulder as much when he's, having that inner monologue when he drops back. But it's going to be really tough for them to move the ball through the air if Calvin Ridley can't get the better of Derek Stingley. And Stingley is just on a roll right now, especially watching how he played against one of the best in the NFL in CeeDee Lamb. So this one, the Texans aren't playing great. I don't think they're playing terrible, but it's not like they're just no matter what going to blow the Tennessee Titans out of the water. It's going to take a little bit for them to get up like that over multiple scores on the scoreboard. I don't know. I'm really worried about the Titans if they cannot get the ball going to Calvin Ridley, and it's just a really tough matchup this week to be able to do that with Derek Stingley. Plus factor in this one. What do you got?
Yeah, I have going back to the Texans offense. It's explosives specifically from Nico Collins, Tank Dell. Catches gaining 15 or more yards. Nico Collins has 19 of them, despite the fact that he missed as much time as he did. Tank Dell, 10. Collins, 538 yards while lined up out wide, too, ranked 7th, which is just, again, wild, because he did miss significant time, and that was just indicative of the tear that he was on before he got hurt. So now, can he return to that? Can you get some explosives out of this offense and really get it going again? I think that is going to be, and you're going to have the opportunity to do so against this Tennessee defense. So that's where I'm looking just as a pure plus factor. If you want to get CJ Stroud going, if you want to get this offense looking like it did, you're going to need some explosive plays, and you have a guy that is really capable of that, especially with CJ Stroud. They have such a good rapport, him and Nico Collins. So that backed up by Tank Dell, I would like to see more of that.
Another player that played really well last week is Danielle Hunter, the edge rusher for the Houston Texans. Him as my plus factor here going up against the offensive tackles for the Tennessee Titans. Nicholas Petit-Frere, Isaiah Prince both played last week. And I mean, when you look at what Hunter did last week, 7 pressures, 2 sacks, 16% pass rush win percentage. He had that insane, like crossover, rip to spin move that was just like one of the craziest pass rush reps I've ever seen. So Hunter very clearly in his bag. He's feeling himself this year. He's feeling like he's on a roll. He's got a pretty juicy matchup against the Titans offensive tackles. And so that could go south very poorly, or very quickly, I should say. It could be a game record type of a situation with Danielle Hunter against those offensive tackles. So they got to play better than that against the guy who's playing really well in Houston. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.